Hello guys, Jeffrey speaking here. So today is another comparison video for you guys. And for this episode, I'll be comparing the Ding Ding Hit 7 and Ding Ding Hit 8. And currently the Ding Ding Hit 7 will cost you around 500 ringgit Malaysia. And for Ding Ding Hit 8, it will cost you around 590 ringgit Malaysia. So the price difference between these two phones is only 90 ringgit Malaysia. And currently they have a promotion going on in Lazada Malaysia. If I'm not mistaken, they will give you a free VR headset. So if you are interested of getting one of this, I'll put a link in the description box below. So without wasting your time anymore, let us proceed with this video. First of all, let's talk about the camera specs of these phones. For Ding Ding Hit 7, the rear camera is 13 megapixel with an aperture of f2.4, and in terms of video capability, it can record up to 720p at 29 frames per second. As for the front-facing camera, it is 8 megapixel with an aperture of f2.8, and the video side is 720p at 16 frames per second. As for Hit 8, the rear camera is 13 megapixel, which is the same with Hit 7, and the aperture is f1.8. As for the video capability, it can record 720p at 24 frames per second. As for the front camera, it is 8 megapixel, which is the same with Hit 7, and the aperture is f2.4. And in terms of video, it can record up to 720p at 14 frames per second. Hello guys, I'm Jeffrey. So now I'm going to test out the front-facing camera for both of these phones. Now actually I'm inside my room now, so it's considered a very low light condition. So you can have a look how these phones camera can perform under low light condition. So in terms of details, I would say the Hit 8 is definitely wins in terms of this aspect. And in terms of dynamic range, I would say they are more and less the same. And in terms of focal length, I would say the Hit 7 is surprisingly wider compared to the Hit 8. And what else? Oh yeah, another thing is that I also record the audio. So the audio that you are listening now is switching from time to time. So if you want to know which belongs to which, you just have to look at the audio logo, which I'll put at the top of this video. Next, I'd like to show you guys the autofocus speed for both of these phones. So in terms of speed, I would like to say they are more or less the same, which is quite decent. So now I'd like to talk about the still photos taken by the front-facing camera of these phones. So the first thing you will notice is the Hit 8 is wider in comparison to the Hit 7. And the second thing is the details on the Hit 8 is greater than the Hit 7. But there's one thing that I dislike about the Hit 8, that is the greenish tint over the photo. After talking about the front-facing camera, now we talk about the rear camera. So you can see in this photo, the Hit 8 is greater in terms of dynamic range. You can see more details in the shadow, and in terms of vibrance and saturation, the Hit 8 is also more punchy compared to Hit 7. But at the end of the day, it still depends on you whether you like the more punchy color or more original color. For this photo, I took it because I would like to test out the clarity and the details that can be captured by these phones. So when I zoom in 100%, I can see that they are more or less the same. So the reason is because they are sharing the same megapixels, that is 13 megapixels. In terms of low light performance, the Hit 8 is definitely the winner here. So when I zoom into one of the columns of the temple, we can see more details in the shadow, and even the doors behind the columns, you can see the patterns on the Hit 8, but for the Hit 7 is totally pitch black. Both of the phones have the dual tone LED flash, and for the Hit 7 is on the warmer side, and for the Hit 8 is on the colder side. But for me, both of them are not doing well in terms of flash photography because it often overexposes the subject. So that's all for today's comparison video, and if you guys like to see me to produce more comparison video like this, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and if possible give me double thumbs up, and also subscribe to Tekgila's YouTube channel if you are new here, and I shall talk to you guys in the next video. Ciao!